Hey,
I
hey.
can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can't hear me?
Let me see. How- You can hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
I can't hear you. So
Really? I mean, let me exit and come back in. Try that.
can you hear me, Mr. Haney?
Yes.
I can't hear you. So
Oh.
hold on just a sec. Let me hop back in.
Hey, Dr. Haney.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Justin said he couldn't hear. He's coming right back in.
Yeah, I thought it was me. So I was like, let me jump off real quick. Hey, good to see you. Welcome back for part 2.
Yeah. I know. I think we have, I know there's going to be a lot of people watching online.
Perfect.
Hopefully this Facebook Live goes off without a hitch.
We've learned some stuff along the way the last time. I'm glad we're using Zoom. I feel like this is going to be a lot more efficient too.
Yes.
I can hear y'all now.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Having a little panic attack because I was like, oh my God, why can't I figure it out?
It's the worst. I'm glad you're in and you can hear everyone.
Me too. Dr. Haney, have you heard any feedback from the first session?
Hang on one second. I did. A lot of people, the two people I spoke with thought it was a really great program and they were anxious for the second one to learn more.
Very cool.
We were too. Anxious for the second one. This one's going to be really cool. It's a little different, but it's going to be a little more in depth. So I'm excited.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Pat.
Hey.
Good. How are you?
Good. All right. Are we live streaming today?
Yes.
Yes.
It's going to work.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did I tell you that I sent the media site recording? You know, I sent the media site recording to all my students and I send it to the faculty so they can share with their students too.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
posted it to Canvas.
Yes, that's what I did too.
Yeah.
Awesome. We hope to help as many people as possible. So a lot of this can be applicable in many different industries. So we hope it helps.
I am hungry.
I'm going to share this. Cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Do we have any students joining y'all in the session today?
I went around to the classes and told people, I don't know. I know we have several that are going to watch it online.
Perfect.
So as soon as the classroom starts recording, I'll go live.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was waiting for media site to start.
Oh. I think students will be watching on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I promoted the event. I threw some money at it and promoted the event online, so we had a lot more interest.
Very cool.
We'd love to hear it. And then I saw the update that it's live. Are we good to go? Or do we need another second?
Okay, we are live. Okay, thank you for attending workshop 2, the value of connecting in the professional world, presented by alumni Lindsay Bost and Justin Banister. They have a really great toolbox to impart on you for graduation, for when you graduate and you're entering the job market. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Thank you again. And I'm going to go sit in the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. Yeah, welcome to part 2, guys. We're super excited to be here today. It's about the value of connecting the professional world and what does that really mean? And we're mainly focusing today on networking and internships, but there's a lot of detail, a lot to go into, and we're, again, super excited to kick this off.
Awesome. So first few slides, we just want to kind of do a recap of what we did last week or, last session, and also kind of give anybody that didn't get a chance to see that session kind of an idea for our concepts and like what we're really trying to achieve. So basically just trying to, give y'all what our goals are. So basically we want to share our experience. We both graduated from Eastern, and essentially in our time in the workforce after our time at Eastern, we had quite a few learning experiences that we found a lot of value in. And we really just wanted to be able to relay those experiences as well as some of the wisdom that those experiences imparted in us. So we wanted to share what we've learned in the last 5 years in the workforce. We've also been wanting to share what we've learned while navigating the job market, because we both live in Austin now. So we've had the experience of being able to basically learn how to market yourself in a bigger city, and also learn a lot of the obstacles and challenges that come along with that as well. We found out some stuff the hard way. And basically along the way, we were like, if somebody would have just gave us, some guidance along the way and given us a little instruction on some of the different concepts that we weren't really familiar with, that, basically we both grew up in smaller places, and a lot of these bigger city issues may not have been prevalent or may not have been known about. So as we've kind of worked our way in the job market and really given ourselves opportunities to succeed, we found a lot of these experiences can be totally relatable and actually give students an opportunity to figure out a lot of these things now, as opposed to playing catch up like we did. So that's how we want to do it too, is we want to relate it to you and also make a difference that way.
Exactly. And basically we want you guys to have it easier than what we had. We learned a lot of things the hard way, which is a great tool and lesson for us. And we're well equipped to handle anything that comes our way in the job market. But if we can share that with you guys and ensure that you have more tools than we did to start out with, that's our goal. If we can just help one person, that's the goal of this series. So yeah. And just to kick us off too, also for those who missed last week, just want to introduce ourselves. So Dr. Haney gave us the intro. I'm Lindsay. I am the operations coordinator at an e-commerce technology company that is based out of Europe, but our US headquarters is technically Austin, and we work completely remote. So I am always home. We don't even have an office space. And that's a little bit about what I currently do.
Yeah. And then I'm also in the tech world. I'm the office manager for a cybersecurity company called SecureLink. It's about 200 people, specializes in stuff a little bit above my pay grade, but I have an opportunity to work in operations and be able to work between different departments. So it's been super valuable. I love it. And as of last week, we're in the process of getting acquired by a bigger tech company based out of Boston. So lots of changes. If you're familiar with change management, that's kind of our specialty.
Exactly. And going into last week, highly encourage you guys to check that out, because we delve really deep deeply into our story, how we got started in the job market, how we ended up to the jobs we have now, and just provide a little more clarity. So if you're wondering how we know what we're part one is definitely something you want to check out.
Also connect with us on LinkedIn. We definitely want to make this as relatable as possible as well. So we have our LinkedIn handles, but basically anybody that would like to connect with us, share any feedback on our sessions, have any questions, you can also message us directly as well. That's the whole purpose of this, is we want to be able to connect with people directly as well. But cool. So I'll go ahead and do like a quick overview of part one. So as Lindsay said, we really just kind of dove into like our stories, talked about our experiences at Eastern, what we did. We both graduated with business degrees. We graduated from the business program. And then basically we've had a fun journey trying to navigate our career paths after we graduated from Eastern. So we included like some tips and advice to set up your success for post-graduation. Kind of talked about how Eastern left an imprint on us and how we basically went about our future careers and our future jobs, and basically how it made such a huge difference to us from where we started compared to a lot of other people in our job markets that we're competing against, and how it basically gave us a chip on our shoulder to really try to outperform everybody else that may have had these other advantages that we didn't. And then also, we touched on things that, we learned the hard way. So I believe you can actually access our first presentation through the media site. You can reach out to Dr. Pat or Dr. Haney if you're not necessarily in the business program and you don't have access to that initial link. They'd be more than willing to share that with you as well. So we definitely would just want to share our experience, and we're super grateful for anybody that was able to join us today.
And going on to part two, kind of in the beginning about what this is, it's going to be networking and internships. And a lot of this is going to be more about the logistics of how. Networking is such a broad term. There's no one way to do it. There's a lot of different ways you can. And we're also going to focus on some of the in-person and virtual ways to do this, because we have a growing remote workforce. We see this a ton in Austin. Again, I work fully remote. The past couple of jobs I've had have been hybrid or remote. So how do you do this in a virtual world? And then of course, the keys that you need to know, what are the resources you should go to? How do I get started? A lot of this is, where do I even begin in? So we're going to give you some keys to that. And then also internships. I think this specific topic between networking and internships is so important, because this is the one area that we both agreed we had no background in. Coming out of college, no one talked to us about networking. We did know a little bit about internships, but not enough to where now that I know what I know, I wish I would have done more internships throughout my years at Eastern. So a lot of this is going to explain why they're so important, why they're relevant, and why you guys should definitely start doing them from your freshman year at Eastern. And so the first we're going to delve into is jobs. And this seems a little basic because everyone has been to a job fair or has seen them, but they're one of the easiest ways to get face-to-face time with companies and actually build your network. First bullet point here is just take advantage of the fair at Eastern if you guys are having one virtually or in person, because I never did. And I know if I actually went to one, I probably would have had a different beginning to my career path than I do now, which is completely fine. But I probably would have chosen potentially a different route to go if I had some time to actually go to these job fairs. And then specifically, I'm looking at this, search for ones that are in industries you're interested in. So beyond the one for Eastern, you should definitely be looking at, what are the job fairs in my area? Are there ones potentially at Texas Tech or in Lubbock that are happening, or beyond the Eastern? If you guys are remotely across the country, what area, and specifically in industries. So if there's the tech world, or beyond that, if you're in nursing, if you're in healthcare, if you're in aerospace, and specifically in Albuquerque, there's Sandia Labs. There's so many different areas to go into, and you should be giving, effort and time into looking at which one's area, because that will make the difference. And they're always free for the employees basically to go to, or candidates. Employers pay for it. And it's again, just a simple way to go and get face-to-face time.
Absolutely. And just to kind of tag some personal experience with that as well. I was in between jobs here in Austin, and basically, um, whenever I had an experience at Four Seasons in Santa Fe. That was part of our internship program that we did with Eastern. And after that experience, I really wanted to try different areas of business. And I tried hospitality, and basically I wanted to shift and kind of have an opportunity to go somewhere else and like try a different experience. So I tried sales. I went into sales. Super grateful for that experience. It wasn't really a match for me, so I was trying to figure out my next path and or next step in the path. And essentially, I wanted to isolate where I was going to go, and I didn't want to go back into hospitality. I wanted to at least give myself some more time to learn a little bit more about different areas of business. So hospitality was kind of like my backfall, or my fallback, but it wasn't necessarily something I wanted to go into. And then Lindsay's actually the one that pushed me to do a job fair at Omni Hotels, which is a international hotel chain. There's quite a few in Austin. There's basically some all over the United States. But I went to a job fair at Omni. I actually got a position offered to me. I turned it down, and then they offered the supervisor position for that same job. And then basically I went back because they were having a job fair weekend. I went back the following day and I took that position. So honestly, depending on what kind of career or industry you want to go into, they're always having job fairs. It may be companies that you're unfamiliar with, or it may be like an industry specific job fair. So there might be multiple companies, but going to a job fair is one of the best ways to put yourself in front of people that probably have direct access to the hiring process. And that was something that Lindsay and I learned right away, was whenever you put in a resume, like they don't know you. And basically if you have 100 other people, vying for the same position, and they have different qualifications than you, the only thing that you can really take advantage of is basically putting a name to a face. And honestly, a job fair is the best way to do that, because you have a chance to speak with hiring managers. You have a chance to speak with recruiters directly, basically people that can have a huge impact in being able to get you that first initial step in the door. And that's honestly all we needed, was an opportunity to really showcase our personalities and who we are and what we wanted to do. And every single time we've had the opportunity to do that, we've been able to make it really far in the interview process, as well as have success with some of the different jobs that we've had here in Austin. So it's like one of the best parts about job fairs that I can speak to is they genuinely do work. And is, if you give it the time and you give it the effort, then it can definitely, you can see success with it as well.
Exactly. And we put in here, go to as many as you can and have zero expectations, because, you might go to one that really doesn't have any role that speaks to you. The companies might not be in industries you're wanting, or the roles that they have available aren't necessarily the ones that you're looking for. Right company, but wrong time. And so just go in and expect, at least practice or being able to build a network. So may not be the right time for you now, but 2 years later, you might actually be talking to that recruiter about the role that you're wanting to go into now that you've got a couple years of experience. So it's always a great way to just practice and work on, how you market yourself in person and communication skills. Because again, that's something that we always wanted. We will beat that into a dead horse. As long as we had an opportunity, we would do well, but we needed practice as well. And so anytime you can do that, please, humanizing the job search is one of the easiest things you can do to help get yourself into the next step. And that kind of goes into the next point too, stay engaged, because it is one of those things where it can be uncomfortable to go to job fairs. You're putting yourself out there, it's vulnerable. And it's one of those things that like, you really just need to go and push yourself to do. And I wouldn't say like go to it because you have a group of friends who want to go and you want to stay in your clique the whole time. But if you want to bring someone with you and then separate and really take the time to go to companies that you're interested in, or take the opportunity to talk to people on your own and really let them know who you are, that's going to be the biggest thing. Go in with a positive attitude, be communicative and personable, and that'll help you stand out.
Exactly. And just to kind of finish out the bottom, we're actually going to be listing resources throughout the presentation. So what we can do is we can reach out to Dr. Pat and Dr. Haney and actually provide the resources separately to them. So if anyone is interested in these actual websites, of course, you can write them down yourself. But if you want a list of them, we can make a comprehensive list of all the resources that we're going to provide today as well. That way it makes it a little bit easier. And that way you don't have to just remember them. It always makes it easier if you have something in front of you.
Exactly. Another resource that I don't have listed here for job fairs that I have later, but is directly related to job fairs, is also Handshake. We'll talk about that at the very end because there's actually some useful, helpful tools that Eastern has for Handshake as well. But just wanted to note job fairs.
So the next kind of opportunities that you can kind of take advantage of, and it's definitely a huge luxury living in a bigger place. Austin has a lot of these. Obviously, I know we're speaking on behalf of our experience in Austin, but if you go to Dallas, if you go to Houston, I'm sure even if you go to Albuquerque, there's going to be a lot of these different events that basically allow for people to network and connect. And it's basically, you know, in a similar fashion to a job fair. It's more centralized. It's a little more specialized depending on what kind of industry event you're interested in. But honestly, there's really not a better way to meet people in the field that you want to go into than like an industry event, just because it gives you a chance to network and connect with people that are, you know, in the same industry, but they're also in different companies. One of the best opportunities that we've had here in Austin is utilizing like Eventbrite. Basically, it lets you know of different events going on. You can use it for social things, but you can also use it for like social networking, being able to connect with like the industry events. And we've actually gone to a couple of them where we're trying to break into the tech industry. So before we had our jobs that we have now, basically we were just trying to find a way in. The Austin tech market right now is booming. So that was kind of what we were looking to do, was like find a way to get into one of these companies and then be able to allow ourselves and like to foster the growth. You know, we just need the opportunity. So going to events like these, you're able to connect with people, you get a better understanding of that field and learn advice. A lot of these people are the hiring managers or recruiters, and basically they're able to give you feedback. You know, a lot of them ask that you provide a resume, and a lot of them will give you real-time like analysis of your resume. They'll give you, you know, advice, be like, hey, we're not actually looking for anybody with your qualifications right now, but keep an eye on our job boards. I'll hold on to your resume, and then you can contact me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and, you know, we can touch base whenever that time comes. And it may not sound like much. It may seem like, you know, that could lead to a dead end, but we've actually connected with people at these events that we still stay in contact with. So honestly, it's just a great way to network. And obviously, you know, you don't ever want to network for the wrong reasons. You're not just networking for the concept that, you know, you're sowing this seed so it's going to come back to you, but also wherever you connect with these people. I remember at one of the events, Lindsay and I connected with this, was it a sales manager? His name was Josh. And we were basically trying to help him find a job because whenever the pandemic happened, he got laid off of his role. So basically we were sending him positions whenever initially during that social like networking conversation, we were trying to find our jobs. So like, honestly, it's you reap what you sow. So, you know, we stay in contact with him on occasion, and, you know, if we ever need something, or if we're, you know, in the market for a new position, he's somebody that we would totally be okay with, you know, referring us for positions or giving us advice or something like that. So it's not even just what they can do for you, but it's also what you can do for them. And, you know, a lot of these things, you know, you may be trying to break into an industry for the first time. So like, you don't have to worry about not having experience. You know, you start somewhere. It really makes a huge difference being able to have a specialization or like some kind of education in these roles. But like in my company, we have like customer onboarding specialists, we have project managers, and we hire those kind of jobs for like non-traditional students or non-traditional employees. So a lot of people that are doing our product management jobs are actually former teachers, or they're nurses, or, you know, different positions that you wouldn't necessarily expect that translate into the positions that we have now. So just because you don't necessarily have experience doesn't mean that these companies won't give you a chance, because a lot of the subject matter or the actual job duties are things that they can teach you. And they want to see that you have the ability to be coached or, taught these things. So that's kind of our experience with it. If you're trying to break into a specific field, use these resources. These are the ones that we found, and these are the ones that we've actually had success with. But, there's other options, especially if you live in different cities or you're trying to go into bigger cities. I know it can be a little bit more difficult whenever you may not necessarily be in those locations. But as Lindsay mentioned earlier, with how the pandemic has completely changed the workscape and made a huge difference in how employers are looking for employees, not necessarily just in your local area, you can find remote options. Especially here in Austin, most companies are not requiring employees to go back into the office on a regular time basis. Plus, a lot of companies are sticking to the hybrid or giving people the opportunity not to go into the office because they have to compete with other Austin companies that are basically never requiring their employees to go into the office. So you're going to find companies like that that are basically looking to hire people regardless of what state you're in, or even if you've never been to that state. So it makes a huge difference. And, Built-in is one of those specific examples. It's a great resource. It's one that we use regularly. Basically, it helps us find specific, positions and job postings from different tech companies here in Austin. So one of our favorite hobbies is going to sound kind of weird, but anytime we know one of our friends is looking for a position or they're looking for a career switch, it's one of our favorite things to do is like, okay, let me find you something. Like, we want to help you, give you an opportunity, and we want to help kind of use our networking if we can. But we'll go on LinkedIn, we'll go into Built-in, basically try to find jobs to kind of help suffice, because it's always so daunting to look for positions yourself. So if we can help, then that's what we love to do. So using resources like Built-in has definitely made a huge difference in helping us understand how to make our imprint here in Austin.
Yeah, and just to go off of that too, like it's one of those things where sometimes these industry events are going to have recruiters there, and sometimes it's just going to be people who are in the industry itself. So like in e-commerce, there's a ton of e-commerce events happening. I just got one yesterday that was like, hey, we're supporting those who are from Ukraine and all the people that work there, because a lot of the e-commerce world is actually remote, or in Europe because it's a lot stronger there. So you start learning things like that, and you learn that, okay, there's going to be meetups all the time. That's why I bring up in Meetup, because you can just sign up for free and you get alerted when things in these areas are happening. And that's the best thing you can do. And that way you start building your network there, and you start meeting up with, oh, hey, well, I know the marketing team. I want to break into marketing. You may not meet a recruiter, but you might meet someone who will let you know when a position's opening up, either at their company or others. So you actually can ask them about advice for, what is the industry actually like? And you can find out, do you really want to go into this specific industry or this marketing role, or are you more driven towards something else? And it's the best to hear from people actually going to these events, because they're living and breathing it. Another thing that goes for industry events and job fairs as well is kind of going back to the point of expect nothing or going with zero expectations. Justin mentioned that we went to one that was kind of like a networking event and job fair all in one. And I went and was hoping to find a job, and I didn't, but I ended up networking with a girl in line with me. We started talking about what we were wanting to do. And ultimately she ended up getting a job in management, customer success. Then a year later, we got promoted to a senior version of that. And then now she's actually a manager for one of the bigger tech companies in Austin. So the fact that I can still, we're still connected on LinkedIn, we still talk to each other, and I may not have worked out or had some out in that opportunity, but she did, just shows like, it's always worth going. You never know who you're going to connect with and who you're going to stay connected with. And then, yeah, Built-in, we'll definitely get Built-in at the end of this. I'll kind of show you what it's like, because we will, in Austin specifically, we will live and die by it. There's a general site that I'll show you. I'll show you Austin's version of it. It's definitely a great resource for those who do want to get into the tech world, even if you're not technical, because Justin and I are not technical either. It's just great to know what's out there and what positions are there.
Another thing that we want to do with this particular session is we also realize that there's current ENMU students that are also probably in the job force right now. and they may be getting their bachelor's or their master's right now in concurrence with this. So we definitely wanted to take some time as well to kind of know how to take advantage of networking even while you're in the job force already. So this is probably one of our favorite aspects to it, is like building strong relationships with your coworkers and sometimes your customers. You never really know, where your career path will take you, and you really can't predict how other people around you can make an impact on that as well. So specifically, whenever I was working at Barton Creek Country Club, I was the health and fitness supervisor. I had an opportunity to basically connect with people at the country club, customers at the country club that I would never have an opportunity to speak with outside of the country club. We're talking, entrepreneurs, we're talking high-level C-suite executives, we're talking about doctors, lawyers, and basically I had an opportunity to, build a connection with a lot of people. And basically they really, enjoyed getting to know me as much as I got to enjoy getting to know them. So one of the opportunities that I came across was one of the country club members. I'd been at the country club for about 1.5 years, and he basically told me one day, hey, where are you going? Like, what does this lead to? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about going back to school. I'm trying to figure out the next step. And basically he kind of helped put that first step in front of me as far as like somebody kind of like offering mentorship. And I had no idea that this guy was absolutely even remotely interested in, helping me. Like, we were always really, really cool. I enjoyed seeing him, but I had no idea that that was something he wanted to do. And I told him about a job opening that I was interested in applying in, which is this one. And he was like, you have to apply. You have to. I know the CEO, and if you put in your application, I can help you. And I was like, okay, like, this is like, whenever I saw this job, I was like, wow, like, this is what I need to break into. So just having that kind of reinforcement for my application and like giving me that psyche that somebody was going to be able to help me, it was awesome. So I actually got through the interview process. I had a final interview with the CEO, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so cool. And basically that was like the job offer interview. And I was like, yeah, I hadn't used the connection yet, but like, I thought it was a good way to kind of sum it up. And I was like, hey, Joe, the previous CEO of my company, his name was Joe. Craziest interview I've ever had in my life. He started it out in his garage. He used a blowtorch to light a cigar. It was really like, it was pretty cool. But I was like, hey, do you know Matt Curtin? He told me that he knows you, and basically, he was, friends with you. And he was like, I have no idea who that is. I've probably met him, but I don't know who he is. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I still got the job, but, just having that idea that, this connection, this guy that I knew at the country club told me that he knew this person, and basically he was going to have a way to help me get this job. It gave me an artificial confidence that I may not have had I not heard that. And even then, I told the guy that, was mentoring me, he's actually an executive at one of the tech companies here in Austin now. I was like, yeah, he totally knew who you were. You know what I mean? Like, basically trying to play it off. But at the end of the day, like, it was just an awesome opportunity to really kind of leverage my networking circle because of the people that I met at my job. So you can totally use that in your own day-to-day life as well, especially if you're in the job force now. Don't lose sight on the fact that the people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis, even if you're in a customer-facing job, you're working in hospitality, if you're in the medical field, you never know who you're going to run into. So definitely leveraging your position to get to know people and taking advantage of the fact that you wouldn't get to know these people on any other basis in a typical fashion is a great way to really understand how to use your workforce that you're in right now to your benefit later. And that kind of leans into like leaning into
just
family. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I'm delayed a little bit. Apologies there. But no, I was going to say, even like, we used to work the fourth. I used to be in food and beverage. You talk to people who are in companies or have giant networks that go there and stay there, and they have huge group events that are happening. And so like, I would just start talking to people, let them know I was in school, and they would ask what I wanted to do. And there are plenty of times where you could potentially talk to someone, and if they're regulars, they see you for a while and they know you're driven in school, want more. they're going to want to help you. They'll offer you jobs. That's happened to friends of mine where they ended up getting a job because they were serving someone that they knew and they saw potential in them. So like, it never hurts to talk to customers about this and who you want, because people love good people that work hard and want more out of their life. So that's definitely something we've learned. And going into Justin's next point, lean into friends and family. This one is really seems kind of basic, but I recently learned this about my boss, about how he got the job at Linworks. And apparently our chairman from the UK, it's basically who is a strategic advisor and who our CEO basically reports into, decided to pull his family out of England and out of school and move to Peru for a few months just to do it. And he said that one day it was his birthday. He was at a bar. His wife was sick in the room and couldn't go down. So he was just talking to people next to him and was telling him about how we're growing in America. They needed a general manager to really get things off the ground. And sure enough, it was my boss's parents who were like, hey, our son's looking for a job. If you're going to the US in the next couple months, stop by LA and meet him. So sure enough, that's what he did. The chairman went there, met with Jason, and ended up convincing him to move to Austin to start a company by himself. And so then they started working out of WeWork and ended up building an empire. Now we're about 60 people here in Austin, and he's no longer with us, but it's amazing how small the world is, that his parents and our chairman were in Peru at the same bar at the same time. And that's how you can get it roll. And another example, because I know it's a little crazier. Another example is my mom. She's a software engineering manager that works for Honeywell. And she told me like, oh my gosh, our workforce is getting older. We need a ton of interns. If you know anyone who's in software engineering or mechanical, let me know, because we could always use them. And at the time they had an office in Albuquerque. And so I don't remember how I got talking to this with my best friend, but she let me know her little brother, he went to New Mexico Tech, was looking for internship opportunities and majoring in mechanical engineering. So I basically put him in touch with my mom, and he ended up interning at the Albuquerque location for 2 summers. And then after that, he got a job full-time in Phoenix at their headquarters for mechanical engineering. So like leveraging who you know, your friends, your family, and helping them is the top thing you can do, because you just never know who you're going to meet and who can help.
Exactly. And that's just one of the ways that you can really leverage different people and opportunities into finding things that you would never find on your own. So like Lindsay said, it's so crazy. Like once you've been in a city, like Austin feels like a big small town. Like it's one of the fastest growing cities in the nation. It's constantly getting new companies moving here every day. But people talk, and like if you connect with people at these events, like I know people at different tech companies that are basically doing the same thing as me, or they're doing different positions. Lindsay's in like intramural volleyball league, and most of these people are different people in the tech company industry. So like it's really crazy just having a way to like connect with friends and like making friends, and how much the dividends can come back to you if you do it the right way and really invest in people. So diving into the next point, like if you're already in your industry, like this is the industry for you, be open to your manager or your director or your supervisor about where you want to take it. The third point and the fourth point really kind of coincide. If you use that kind of transparency and communication with your direct supervisor, direct manager, you can keep an eye on those new job postings in your current company, and you can ask them, hey, how do I get to this? Like, what am I doing right now to success that will allow me to be where I want to be? And, I understand there are instances where not everybody has the ideal manager or the ideal supervisor, but I promise you, in any company, there's somebody that wants to help somebody get to where they need to be or where they want to be. So definitely utilizing the different connections that you have in your company to kind of help catapult you into a new position. Lindsay and I have both dealt with bad managers, and it happens. It's not fun, it's not easy, but you learn a lot by having to deal with those kind of situations. It's not always ideal, but it's another one of those things, like whenever you look back, you'll be like, wow, that was such a valuable experience, even though it was hard. So utilizing something like that, or you get instances where you have a manager or supervisor that's like, yes, like I was in your shoes 2 years ago, and I want to see you be in a different place a year from now. So like, honestly, you get both sides of the coin, but being able to utilize both those experiences makes a huge difference in propelling yourself forward in your career. And that kind of leads into, you know, the last point. Lindsay can actually speak to this one the best, but I mean, it only makes sense never to burn a bridge. If you were to live in, say, Albuquerque or Portales, you know, the community is a little bit smaller. Everybody knows everybody. So it always helps not to burn a bridge, because you never know when you'll have to cross that bridge again. And, you know, you may close the door on something, but, you know, I never thought I was going to go back into hospitality, and that's what happened. So it's all about being open about your career choices, and then being able to be like, wow, I left this situation in a positive way. There's always a chance that I may have to utilize this later. So I'll let Lindsay explain.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's interesting because I had a bad manager, more for lack of a better word. I was in an industry that was really tough. The role that I had was changed due to COVID. So the pandemic hit, and I had to go back and more into an account management sales role. And it really, again, wasn't what I wanted to do. I felt like the sales culture of the team was, you know, I'm a hard worker, I'm a tough girl. I can handle any situation, but it was one of those where I just knew I wasn't happy and I wanted to leave. Ultimately, I knew I didn't need to burn a bridge, and I left with a good reputation with my manager. We still got along well outside of work, but in work we just didn't agree on certain things, and that's okay. But few months down the line, he was actually the one to reach out to me about the role I have now. And he, you know, was working with LinWorks to recruit for them about, you know, what kind of role do we need for a projects and operations person. And he was like, I know exactly who to go to. And when he let me know, it took me, I think I had 2 days of interviews, and it's basically an hour one day, an hour the next, and they offered me. So the fact that he still trusted me, knew the kind of worker I was and what I can offer, and believed in me, and still had a good relationship, that made all the difference to get this opportunity. And I'm so forever grateful, because this was exactly what I needed to break into the tech industry in the role I wanted. And one thing my current manager has always said, he is like, keep in mind, it's not just who you know, but who knows what you know. Because anyone can know you, but if no one knows what kind of work you can do, who you are in the professional world, and what you've worked on, what kind of projects you've done, and even if you're just in school and you're leading projects and you haven't had too much professional experience, it's still about who knows what kind of person you are, your work ethic, and what you've done. So like, share what you can about your portfolio or projects, again, you've worked on in school, or anything, any groups you've been a part of, volunteer work. It can all lead into a role. So it's all about, again, who knows that, and who knows what kind of asset you can be for a company. Cool. And so moving on with networking, this is a key area for me that I cannot stress enough. I had no idea how valuable LinkedIn was when I left college, like zero idea. I thought job fairs and going to, you know, applying online and doing my resume up and doing cover letters was the only way to get a job. And I really had no idea how to network, but specifically what your presence online can do to your reputation, and how that can really help you and perpetuate your career. And especially because of my recruiting background, I was on LinkedIn all day long, searching for candidates, looking at the best profiles, trying to find the right people for the right jobs. And and for me to even be able to do that, I needed to have my profile correct. I needed to have a network. So that's why LinkedIn is so important to have. And when you correctly, it can be so helpful. And so this is why we kind of wanted to give the basis for how to start your LinkedIn profile, what to look for, but specifically with networking, the next part of the series actually go into like building a good profile, what that looks like, how this will help you. But one thing we can at least start with is starting by adding your personal network and people from school, from your jobs, just starting to get more people around you in your network that can support you. Add us. We're telling you, please add us, because we will help. We've got networks. We want to help you. Beyond that, you know, once you have the basis, start adding people in your desired work field. I added so many people in my network from tech companies and those that were in operations and HR and other areas of the tech field, even ones in the technical industry as software engineers and product managers, because that's who I wanted to be connected with and could potentially help me find a way into a company. So once you get the basis set down, with your friends and people that you know, start just adding them. And one of the best ways to do that is to include a personal message and just say, hey, you know, I'm trying to break into this project management world. I saw that this is what you do, would love to connect with you. And that's all you have to do. You can even send something a little more personal, like I'd love to meet, like I'd love to learn from you or get advice. And people want to help you. You know, it kind of goes back to the whole humanizing business. The digital world can be so transactional and really almost lifeless because it just seems like another person on a screen. But if you can humanize it as much as you can and really put some thought behind your relationships with people, that people will want to help you. That's just human nature. So that's why, you know, send a message, let them be clear about like what you want from them and how you can help, and people will want to see you succeed. Another thing to do once you've kind of gotten your network and that part up and running, and you can do this at any time, but really starting with adding people and then start following companies that are interesting to you or industries. You know, if you want to follow what's going on with Netflix, go for it. You know what's going on, stay up to date with their news, because you'll start seeing their news postings from their company, articles, you'll start seeing videos, everything. And whenever you've got that from the companies that you want to follow, then start engaging in their content. Start reaching out to, you know, not only on their videos and commenting and sharing it with your network, but reach out to the people that are in charge of hiring, you know, see who the hiring managers are or HR, see what job postings they have, because this can all directly relate to your network and what you want to do. And if you, so many times have you seen a job posting page and it doesn't have the role you want, but you can reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of role. You may not have one now, but I want to introduce myself. Keep me in mind for the future. And so many people will circle back with you in a few months, say, hey, we've actually got a post or a posting open now. We're thinking of you. Are you interested still? And then the last thing I can say is there's LinkedIn learning courses. It is at an extra cost, but if you're somewhere where you really want to grow your network and skill set, you can do LinkedIn learning courses. You can get certified in them by LinkedIn, share it with your network. And so they all know that you're working on your background and yourself. You know, they have ones just in like Microsoft Word and Excel, and you can share that saying, hey, I'm working on my admin skills. And that's kind of the final cherry to tying in together your network, your skill set, and trying to break into a specific industry. And the last thing I wanted to share for networking is just some resources. So like I said, there's no real single way to network. You can try multiple things. You can try multiple areas of the list that we've already sent. There's job fairs, there's industry events, there's just building your network. But there are great tools that you can use for this. And so this one is specifically networking facing. We'll have one for internships as well later on, but built in, can't speak enough about it. It's amazing to use for news, job sites, industry events, and you can look up salaries. You can actually compare what the average is for what you have in your current role or desired role. So you can see what kind of salary you should be looking at. There's so many things. But beyond that, you know, Eventbrite and Meetup are great to use to just know what's happening in your area and how you can get connected virtually or in person. LinkedIn, of course, we just went through that. It's going to be the best thing because every recruiter or every hiring manager, the first thing they're going to do is look at your resume and your LinkedIn. So having one is key.
What was that stat we looked at yesterday? It's like 97% of recruiters use LinkedIn for like hiring candidates.
Yeah, it's like 93, somewhere in the 90s. And it means it's true. That's what I lived and died by as a recruiter. So we're all looking at people over there that way. One other area that you may not think is Facebook. So surprisingly, there's so many professional development groups. It's not just for social media. That's a lot of what it is, but you can search for groups that can really help you in your area. And so like one that we're a part of is called Austin Digital Jobs. And it's got like over 55,000 people in the area in that. So like putting that in perspective, you can find something in your area to connect. And even if there's 1,000 people in it, even if there's 200, it's 200 more people that you will know that are in the fields that you're looking for. And not only is it a place to find a job because people will post open roles, but they'll also say, hey, I'm in the interview process and I've got 2 offers here and a counter offer. What do I do? Or, hey, is this a normal interview practice? I had this happen to me. Let me know. And people they're just so nice and they're so willing to share their thoughts and their information and want to help. So definitely look into Facebook groups. And then lastly, like I put this one in as a local organization. It's called Networking Austin. And basically it's just one focus on the Austin network and is across multiple industries, not just the tech world. But it's great to know that we have one specifically for our community. And that shows an example that you guys, anywhere you're located, will be able to find something like this, or in the closest next big city, whatever you want to do. There's local groups that do want to help see the people in your area succeed. Cool. Go ahead, Justin.
Awesome. So Lindsay did a great job of covering the networking aspect. Another aspect that, we really just had no idea about was internships. And it was awesome because Eastern actually gave us the opportunity to leave Portales after we graduated through an internship with 4 Seasons in Santa Fe. So we've already had some experience with internships, but as we were, doing our internship experience, we would have felt it to be so valuable to actually utilize a lot of our time for internships earlier in our college career, because then it could have helped, potentially change where our careers would have taken us. And honestly, just giving yourself options help kind of open those things. So after college, everybody's trying to get the same jobs, regardless of where you go. If you go to a big city, you go to a little town, something like that, you're always going to have people, in a similar kind of situation as you, trying to find the best job that works for them. So any kind of experience, anything that helps you stand out will make a huge difference against people that are competing against you. Like I said, this is so true in a larger city. Whenever we moved to Austin, we knew there's going to be so much more opportunity than we've ever had, but we had no idea how much more competition there was going to be. So UT has a strong connection here in Austin. So we had to work harder because we didn't have, that Longhorn logo on our resume like everybody else. And you'd be surprised, people in bigger cities look for colleges that they're comfortable with, or colleges that they've had graduates actually, work for their company. So like Texas A&M, TCU, UT, Baylor, those are all kinds of students that we had to compete against. But obviously we were able to overcome that and find a way to succeed in our current positions. So, we love Eastern. We totally understand that you're always going to have to vie against different kind of employees for, positions and whatnot. But an internship is a great way to really help you kind of figure that out and also help narrow down the things that you're looking to achieve. So internships show that, show employers that you've been able to handle the industry before. But also if you've been able to complete those internships, it also gives you an opportunity to show that you can succeed in those roles. You get, firsthand professional experience, and it helps build up your network. Like we said before, like if you're going to be in a position or you're going to work with a company, it only makes sense to make connections while you're at that company. And especially as an intern, it makes a huge difference if you are only at a job for 3 months to make those connections while you're there. It also is super valuable because you can have internships in person, but the workscape is changing to where you can have internships online too. So it's actually easier to get you ramped up because you don't have to necessarily move somewhere, or you don't have to worry about lodging or anything like that. Like whenever we moved to Santa Fe, that was one of the things that we had to figure out was, where are we going to live? Like the internship that we had didn't offer housing. And whenever we did the internship, we did it with other fellow Eastern students, and we basically all lived together because it made sense. And then I was graduating and everybody else was in their junior year or their sophomore year. So they actually had an opportunity to go back. Well, I had to figure out how I was going to stay there. So having those kind of opportunities remotely make a huge difference because there's less logistics. It's easier to kind of figure out, okay, I don't have to, leave my parents' house, or I don't have to leave my summer house or wherever you are. So it makes the process a little easier. And then in my position through that internship with 4 Seasons, my internship became a full-time role. So if you're doing an internship right after like your senior year, it could always transition into something more. If you're doing one the summer of your junior year, there's people that are willing to, or there's companies that are willing to hold a position for you whenever you graduate. And that's how people get positions whenever they're still in school, is having these connections at companies they've had internships with. And then basically whenever, you're going into your senior year, the company is like, hey, you were awesome as an intern. We would love to have you back. So just being able to utilize those internships and, leverage all the things that you gain from them make a huge difference in the overall bigger picture of things.
And just to go off of that too, one point is the ramp up period for remote jobs. Not only do you not have to worry about where to live, logistically, how are you going to make this work? But if you already have experience doing the job, then the employer doesn't have to worry about taking a month to ramp you up, or having to worry about, do you know the concepts? Like, do I have to explain everything from the very beginning? Because obviously with entry level, that's expected. But if you already know that and know some of the basic terminology in the job, that's just one more thing to put you ahead than everybody else. And not only that, but you feel a lot more confident going into that role, your first time role or entry level role.
Exactly. I know we're kind of getting crunchy on time, so I'm going to try to make this slide a little easier because we're still going to have to drive through one of the websites. So just bear with me a little bit. And we can always touch base on this in a later session as well, if people, find it valuable for us to go a little more in depth on this as well. So what to expect with internships. You could be the only intern, or you could be part of an intern class working together. So that's how we were at Four Seasons. We all work together. And then whenever we completed our program, Four Seasons actually asked Eastern for another internship opportunity with us. So if you leave the right impression, it actually can make a huge difference on Eastern as well, which is something we really pride ourselves in, because, obviously they liked us enough to want to bring more Greyhounds there, which was super cool. They could ask you to complete a project or present on it by the end of the internship, which we all had to do. It was really cool. Different kind of initiatives. Some people worked on ways to make things more efficient for like Four Seasons Hotel, different stuff like that. So depending on what kind of company you have, you can totally be tasked with a project along the way. Opportunities can give you options at different areas. I know Lindsay, whenever she worked there, initially she was a pull server, and then she jumped to our in-room dining area. So basically, it's still kind of in F&B, food and beverage, but at the same time, it's completely different in a lot of ways. So a lot of internship opportunities will actually do cross-training to basically let you see different areas and get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the business. Internships can be anywhere from 2 to 4 months for a summer internship. Some of them may start right as soon as school ends, and then they may go all the way to the beginning of August, or they may be for a month and a half. It really just depends on the company. There's also larger internships. I would say a lot of these are probably more applicable to graduating students. There's larger companies that will basically bring you on as an intern that's almost like a contract position. Basically, they may decide at the end of the internship if it makes sense for both parties to still be engaged, but at the same time, it's another great way to have opportunities after your internship if they decide to keep you on, which is totally possible as well, and obviously the goal. And I mean, in a roundabout way, internships are meant to show you different areas of business to help you learn and grow from the experience. It was incredibly helpful for us to experience different parts of internships. And, each day was challenging for different reasons, but, if you have the right mindset for it, you'll learn so much about it. You'll learn so much about a company. And like I said, if you do internship opportunities as a sophomore or a junior, if you were thinking about going into that particular field and you had a negative experience, you don't have to go into that field anymore, which is so nice, because then it saves you the trouble of finding stuff out later. So I definitely recommend anybody that has the opportunity, say if you're a freshman, sophomore, or even a junior, taking advantage of any kind of internship opportunities. Lindsay and I both worked regular jobs during the summers, and we look back and we're like, wow, instead of just, making money and, building up our bank account for the fall semester, we really could have used that time to learn a lot more about what we like and what we don't like.
Exactly. That's the one takeaway I have from internships is I wish I did more of them. I was a lifeguard for 2 summers, and I was taught you work during the summer to save up for school, which was great. But long term, I wish I would have done an internship, because most of them are paid. So I could done the same work, still make money and get better experience. So in hindsight, that's one thing we want you guys to know. And real quick, so we have internship resources that I think are so valuable for you guys to look at. Because if I didn't know where to begin for internships and where to go to. One built in, I wish I had more time to show you the actual website. We won't get to it today, but I highly recommend because they've got 40 different areas. There's some in Albuquerque. Austin's one of the big hubs that they have. Check it out. It's the best. Also, you can look for summer graduate internship programs across the board. So like Indeed has a huge hand in this. And there's Firsthand, who's got like a top 100 list. You've got LinkedIn, you can search there, internships.com, Intern HQ, way up. And one of the best resources is Handshake because it's specifically for students. So Eastern has a Handshake account. Basically, that's one way for companies to post jobs specifically for students for internships and entry-level roles. So it's no other competition other than students. So that limits a lot of the other areas that people could look into, other people switching careers. If they're not a graduate, they're not going to be considered. And one of the best things is that if you have a job fair at Eastern hosted by Handshake, all the companies that are there have to post a job on their Handshake website before they can actually go. And that kind of leads us into this E&M resources. We want you guys to use this. So we're going to show you this real quick because it's so valuable to see what Eastern already has for you guys open and available readily on their website.
Exactly. And I knew this was an option for me, but I didn't know why I would need it. I was like, oh, when I graduate, I'll just figure it out. Like I'll find something. Utilizing resources that are given to you are the most efficient use of your time. You don't have to, have hindsight as 2020 if you have these tools and you know to use them. So as you actually go through this website, it's actually on Eastern's website. It talks about some ideas as far as like for your junior year, what you need to do, giving you some concepts like how to develop your LinkedIn, also like planning an internship. It actually gives you access to Handshake right from the website. So as Lindsay said, it's a way to kind of invest yourself using your Eastern or your university leverage into like a position with companies that are going to work with Eastern as far as positions go. They have additional internship resources as well, which is super good. I look back and I was like, how did I not use this? So I definitely recommend doing that. They have a checklist, professional development stuff online, basically some different things as far as how to craft your resume, cover letters, kind of giving you the 411 on like resume, like etiquette, and then cover letter etiquette, different resources like that. And then also, they're just relaying everything that we've been echoing throughout this whole series is like networking is super important. Internships are important. And basically they talk about how you can connect with people on campus to basically help open your career path. So definitely use this website to make a huge difference in like basically being able to leverage what you want to do moving forward. Even if you're, like I said, a freshman still trying to figure it out, utilize these resources. Like I said, hindsight's 2020. So knowing that I didn't use this stuff is so frustrating because I'm like, wow, how much different would life be right now if I did use these resources? However, I am super grateful we went through everything we did, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be doing this presentation and trying to get back to Eastern this way. So like I said, it's so much easier for us to do it this way and actually be able to show you all this stuff. So please take advantage of this stuff. And then we can actually, in the resources that we'll send out to Dr. Pat and Dr. Haney, we'll make sure we include this specific link as well.
Yep. And let me just get back in here. So we're nearing the end real quick. That's the end of, there we go. That's the end of the presentation here. What you can expect for session 3 is going to be some of the more nitty gritty. So you're building your resume, what are the right tips and tricks for building that, and what's going to stand out among the competition when recruiters are looking at it. Creating your LinkedIn profile, which is going to be one of my favorites because I love helping people build their LinkedIn profile and what are the things that you should do, how to maximize your profile and stand out against everyone else online. Job searching tips. So there's things that you probably wouldn't have guessed when you're looking for jobs that we have learned along the way because of our recruitment background and our people background, and something that we learned because we had to get creative with our own search. And then lastly, interviewing best practices. So some of this isn't going to be, more of a role play, but it's going to be more about things that you wouldn't expect, what kind of questions you should expect, what's part of the etiquette, something that you should keep in mind. It's going to be more about that. So that's what's coming up next time. And I know we're at time, but we're happy to take questions offline if needed.
Just one question. Do you have, let me get in front of the camera. I know both of you are in the tech industry, but if a student was looking for an internship in hospitality, could they reach out to you for assistance with that?
Yes.
You would probably be surprised what our network looks like in hospitality. In our particular instances, Four Seasons brings in people from different Four Seasons. So we know people from Four Seasons Maui, we know people from Four Seasons LA, Scottsdale, wherever. So if hospitality is something you're interested in, we have plenty of experience.
And with the Omni as well. Lots of people still love Justin at the Omni hotels, so we can help you there.
Absolutely.
Any questions?
What training they feel was the most helpful when they get in a new position, when they go work with at a new firm?
What training do you feel was most effective when you went to go work at your current company?
I would say like experience has been the best teacher. It's really hard to like kind of narrow down exactly what will help you succeed most. If I had to pick one thing, I would absolutely say like understanding how like Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, Excel work, or even if you're going to work in a company that uses like Google, like we use G Suite, so like Google Chats, email, everything like that, like being able to communicate with those tools and be able to like basically use those in your day-to-day process make a huge difference. So I know Eastern does a great job in offering, I can't remember what the course is, I think it's IS 151, as far as like how you go ahead and utilize like PowerPoint and Microsoft,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff, totally useful.
Take the advanced classes. You don't want to, but it's so worth it. Like no one wants to take those classes, but that's been so valuable. And I've definitely referred back to like how to use Excel or like a question that I have to go look up online. So that's valuable. And also like not less training, but more about experience. Our roles are very general. We're in sales, like I was in sales, then HR and recruiting. And so like the most you can do is just say yes to opportunity and try a bunch of things while you're post-graduation and you're kind of younger in your career, because it'll lead to different avenues and then give you more experience to then take on, in other roles.
That's all we got.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Yeah. If anybody else has any questions, please message us online. We can also provide our LinkedIn stuff on the resources that we give Dr. Pat and Dr. Haney. But other than that, like we've just been so excited about this, and we're glad we just hope it helps somebody. That's all we want.
Yeah. And thank you. Thank you for those who have taken, obviously for you, Dr. Pat and Dr. Haney, but thank you for those who've taken the time to like sit here and watch, and hopefully we continue to provide some good insight and y'all continue to watch, because it is really exciting for us to be able to share this experience.
Great. Thank you so much. And you'll send me the PowerPoint and I can distribute that with the video.
Yep, absolutely.
Sure thing.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Of course. Talk to y'all soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.